Hello everybody, thank you for joining. Just going to give it a couple more seconds before we get going, just to make sure everyone is landing in the lobby before we start. Do you know, I think we'll get started. There's enough people in at the moment. So yeah, hello everyone. How are you doing? Hope you're all well. Thank you very much for joining our webinar today. We've got a jam-packed agenda. So while just the other attendees are logging in, I'm just going to start with some introductions, the agenda for today, and also some housekeeping for the session. As hopefully you're all aware, today's session is all around the trends of data analytics and professional services, and more specifically, how businesses can utilize data to evolve their business. As I say, just a bit of housekeeping before we start. Please note that today's session is being recorded, and so will be uploaded to our YouTube channel and also made available on our website. So if you don't wish for your audio to be included in the recording, please do just stay muted and ask any questions on the chat. To that point as well, I don't think we're going to have enough time on the agenda today for a live Q&A at the end, but please do write your questions in the chat. We'd love to see them come through, and we'll be getting back to you later this afternoon or latest tomorrow morning as well. So just before we get into it, wanted to do some introductions and just run through the agenda for today. So just looking at the agenda and what we're going to be covering today. Firstly, I want to take you through just some of the key themes that we're seeing in the industry, and then also just want to take you through some of the common use cases that we constantly see. I'm then going to be handing it over to Manu, who's going to give me a bit of a view on Microsoft Fabric and how Microsoft are investing in their technology platforms to support their customers and tackle some of the challenges that I'll be speaking about at the first part of today's session. And then finally going to be handing it over to Luke, who will be taking you through how to build a successful data strategy. And for those that already have a data strategy, it's a really useful milestone to kind of compare what we see as best practice to what you're currently doing today as well. Last thing I'll say is please do stay till the end, as we'll be taking you through an opportunity to leverage a couple of different funding programs to take your first step towards a data strategy. Some really lucrative opportunities there, so please do hang around for the end. So just do a quick round of introductions. So my name is James Ishwood. I'm one of the professional services account managers here at Transparity. I've been supporting the professional services sector for around 6 years now, working at various different Microsoft partners. And my role is very much about connecting our customers to our amazing technical teams here at Transparity and also at Microsoft too. So that's me. I'm now going to hand it over to Luke for an intro.
Thanks, James. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Luke Collins, and I head up the data element of the data and AI practice at Transparity. So just shy of 40 data engineers and consultants within the data practice, and our sort of core delivery really is the implementation and design of modern data platforms using technologies like Fabric, Databricks, for example. I'll now hand over to Manu.
Thank you so much, Luke. Nice to meet you all. My name is Manu Chadha. I am from Microsoft's Data and AI Sales Solution team. In summary, I help customers navigate the Azure stack and all the Azure Data AI services available in the stack. Nice to meet you all.
Nice. Thank you, Manu. So just before getting into the content today, I'm just conscious that some people on the call might not be aware of who Transparity are. So just very quickly, wanted to give you a whistle-stop tour of who we are. So we're the most accredited Microsoft partner in the UK, meaning we have the most and the highest level of accreditations across the entire suite of Microsoft services, including data and AI. We have a really strong footprint in the professional services sector. It's one of the reasons that I joined Transparity about a year ago. So working with enterprise and SMC customers across legal, accountancy, recruitment, construction, property, and some of the broader business services. And it puts us in a really unique position whereby we have a load of visibility on hundreds of use cases and challenges related to data and AI in the industry. We've done our very best to try and consolidate those into an hour today, but ultimately there's too many to pack in. So again, would love to have the opportunity to speak to some of the attendees today to talk about some of the specific use cases that we're seeing within the sub-verticals that sit under the umbrella of professional services. And just from a technical credibility perspective, we've actually delivered the most amount of Microsoft funded data platforms than any other partner last year. And so again, please do stick around to the end. As I said before, we've been talking about how each attendee can apply for a completely free of charge data platform MVP for those that are looking to align to a strategic partnership. So why are we here today? In short, from the conversations that we're having on a daily basis, we've certainly acknowledged that there's a gap between how businesses are currently using data today and how they'd like to be leveraging it in the future. Only 6% of organizations in the industry are actually truly data driven, and I think something that really resonates with the speakers on the call today, including myself, is that as much as 60% of business leaders don't believe that their data is accurate. And I think that's actually quite an optimistic statistic from the conversations that I have personally. We've noticed typically when we have these conversations, there's 4 key themes that kind of drive change and aspirations in data analytics across our customer base. Firstly, probably the most obvious one, but it's that raw demand for company-wide data and better insight. So whether that's driven from a top-down or maybe from a daily request of teams to access more data, what we found is that firms can't operationally compete with those of their competitors that are using data to innovate their services and stand out from the crowd. Point 2, this is something that has been a theme over the past 2 years, I would say, but there's been a massive drive to better organize business data so that firms are ready to adopt artificial intelligence and machine learning. Interestingly, I found personally that many organizations actually fail to recognize the value in actually just having a solid data strategy with a centralized platform, surfacing insight back to the business. But they're actually just taking that investment step to take a closer step towards AI and ML. So the only point I'd like to make here is that as much as we're massive advocates for AI here, the last event that we did for the professional services industry was about AI. The only point is that actually there's a lot of intrinsic value in actually just looking into your data, and AI isn't always the right answer, although it certainly does have its place. So point 3, so rising expectation of clients and the pressure that comes with that. Certainly from my perspective as an account manager working at a professional services business, I've certainly noticed that the client relationship has never been more fragile, with more options in the market, more flexibility, more innovation that's happening on a regular basis. And now there's a constant need or drive to demonstrate value back to clients. So whether that's to get stickier with your customer base, or maybe it's to empower your commercial teams to have more productive conversations around renewals, fees, contracts, whatever it will be. But something that we've certainly noticed at the team is that the pressure that clients are putting onto our customer base is certainly growing, and that need to demonstrate innovation. And then just finally, again, probably one of the more obvious points on this list, it's the rise in SaaS and multi-cloud platforms. I can't really say it better than the stat on the screen, to be honest. Just over 50% of CIOs say they're losing data through multiple platforms. And actually, this leads me quite nicely onto my next slide here. So how are businesses in the industry using data today? As I mentioned before, it's really hard to consolidate all the use cases across all the different sub-verticals of professional services, but I've tried to take a broad view and bring out examples from different sub-verticals. We've kind of split out 4 key challenges that our customers are solving with data, and have a few examples to run through now. So on the far left, looking at siloed data first. So many businesses don't have a unified view of operations, or maybe it's the customer they don't have a view on. A lot of our customers also grow through acquisition, and they need a centralized data strategy and platform to centralize the additional platform data that they've inherited as well. Just to give you one example from a law firm that we've worked with before, those guys wanted a single view of the client to better serve them as a customer. They wanted to be able to spot upsell opportunities across the different practice areas within the firm. And they also wanted a better forecast those clients that maybe aren't engaging as well and potentially are more likely to churn. The challenge they had is that actually all the different data points within the firm about that client was sat in different locations within the business. And so we built them out a platform that consolidated data from their CRM, finance platforms. They had a customer engagement platform as well as a practice management system as well, so that they could unify that view of the client, so that fee owners can use that information to better commercially manage their clients by playing back value to them, but also having more productive commercial conversations as well. Lack of trust, so number two. So many businesses, and this is probably one of the biggest use cases that we see, they struggle to trust their business data. Typically, it's because either they've got like multiple different processes of analysing data. Maybe it's that there's multiple versions of the same data, or actually it could be that there's just inconsistencies on how that data is collected at source. So they're typically the kind of the three main culprits for that lack of trust. But again, to give an example where we worked with a consultancy before, where their different commercial leads were forecasting different revenue numbers to those from the finance team. And so we worked with them to put a data governance and consolidate their forecasting data into a centralized platform of which everyone was drawing from the same layer of data, ultimately impacting the consistency and accuracy of their feedback sessions to their SLT. Point three, so manual reporting. Businesses that we work with have on a lot of occasions have employees spending maybe up to 50% of their day manually grappling with business data. And it'd be interesting if you could ask yourselves, do you find, and do you know of roles in the business that are probably spending too much time grappling with data when it's not actually within the job description of what they should be doing? That's something that we commonly see with a lot of our customers. To give you a slightly different use case and a different side of professional services, we've worked with countless construction and property firms who have multi-point processes to collect and analyze compliance data, often using like loads of different Excel spreadsheets. And so a good example is with machine maintenance compliance, or maybe health and safety compliance as well. And so normally what we'd look to do is build out some sort of simple low-code workflow to manage their data through that process. And then again, it's all reported from a centralized Fabric data platform. And then the final kind of core challenge that we see and that we often tackle with a successful data strategy is that lack of scalability. So this is really referencing to the lack of foundations to which you can then begin to apply things like machine learning and artificial intelligence. So to give you a handful of examples here, we work with law firms who are looking to forecast win rate in future profitability of clients. We're working with home builders and property managers who are looking to do predictive analytics on site location, so whether a new build area is the most profitable place to do that. But then we're also just empowering broader businesses who maybe have employees with lower data literacy, and enabling things like AI on their BI capability to democratize data analytics to those that maybe aren't FA with using data services on a day-to-day basis. So I'm now going to hand it over to Manu, who's going to give you a bit of a view on how Microsoft are supporting their customers with these sorts of challenges with the Fabric platform. I think you're on mute, Manu.
Yep, I realized just that midway sentence. Nice to meet you all again, and thank you so much, James. And thank you everyone for attending this event. Now, James already set a good context as to why we are here, and I'd like to build on that. James mentioned about data silos, and that will be kind of the theme of what I want to talk about, because in my opinion, this slide represents the starting line of data analytics in most organizations. In summary, multiple tools from different vendors creating data silos, which make data inconsistent, inaccurate, insecure, and non-interoperable. And these silos are not just technical challenges, but they are business inhibitors and a security risk. They stop organizations from achieving a very well-known aspiration of having a 360-degree view of their business, encompassing customers, partners, supply chains, employees. These silos make it very difficult to enforce a uniform and consistent security policy across data. And the silos make it difficult for business to stay agile, especially in the constant changing environments. And altogether, it becomes difficult to deliver tangible business outcomes from the technology investments you might be making. Now, an obvious solution is to bring data in one place. And this idea of bringing data together in one location is not new, but it has failed in the past. So what Microsoft is doing is we are taking a different approach to solving this problem. What we propose is data unification without data duplication. And we are doing so by embracing open data formats so that both Microsoft and non-Microsoft solutions could work on the same copy of data. We are making it easier to bring in transactional data in the realm of analytics without requiring extensive ETL. We support not only data unification, but also platform unification. So what that means is a single platform or place in which data engineers, data scientists, business analysts, business users can all come together and collaborate. The key question is why you should do this. Well, in today's world of AI, having your data in good state is quite important. And you would have heard of the phrase numerous times that your AI is only as good as your data. Why is that? Well, because data gives the context AI needs to give you the right answers. So to become effective in using AI, you need ability to surface the right data quickly, completely, and securely. So around November 23, Microsoft introduced Microsoft Fabric. Now, Fabric is an end-to-end analytics platform that brings together the best of Microsoft Power BI, Azure Synapse, Data Factory into one unified platform. But it is not just a simple integration of products. It's a SaaS-based platform, so customers can spend more time actioning insights and less time in provisioning, configuration, integration. It provides a single place to enforce data security, information protection policies, data loss prevention policies, do data discovery across the estate. All analytic workloads use the same copy of data and a common compute resource. Very important, because what that means is you are not over-provisioning resources and you're saving money when you start using Fabric. Commercially, Microsoft Fabric supports different commercial models, pay-as-you-go reservations. Fabric cost as low as $200 per month, which makes Microsoft Fabric extremely efficient, especially if you consider that all experiences in Microsoft Fabric support AI. And finally, and what my opinion is most important, Fabric enables you to deliver insights right into the business applications or right in the flow of work of business users. Let me show you Fabric in action. And in this short video, you will see how Fabric brings together all the workloads and tools in a single experience and how it delivers insights straight into business applications with right security controls. We have tested the audio works. Just in case you don't hear the audio, please give a please put in the chat, but it should hopefully work. All right, Warren, to your question, I believe you can get the URL of the video. However, the best place to know more about Fabric will be watching the FabricCon keynotes from last 2 years. They are available on YouTube, but feel free to reach out to us if we can provide you more information. Yeah, okay. No, I was not on the next slide. So in summary, AI is critical for the success or you can say even survival of many organizations. AI needs data, And you need capability which enables you to work on all of your data, irrespective of where it lives, what format it is, whether it's old, whether it's new. And you want to do it fast without undertaking a long, expensive, and extensive integration project. So Microsoft Fabric could be the answer to you to help you become more AI driven. You can learn a lot about Fabric for free through online resources and trainings. Please feel free to check them out using these links. I think they are shareable. And with that, I'll pass over to the next speaker, Luke. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Manu, for the really insightful sort of view of really how Fabric can start to combat some of those challenges that James obviously outlined at the start of the session. And I think the reason that we're obviously talking about data strategy today is because we know there's a very capable platform in Fabric that can help you overcome a load of those challenges around data silos, trust in data, for example, removing some of those manual time-consuming tasks that James outlined at the start. But without a sort of overarching data strategy, you run the risk of potentially providing a platform that maybe fulfills the needs for a few, but actually then leaves the business elsewhere that aren't getting their data and insights from that central platform. We often see when we engage at sort of a data strategy level that you get really mature areas of the business, typically sort of like around the finance and the commercial side of things that have really got a handle on their data, but maybe other areas in the business are actually lagging behind. So it's important that your data strategy should encompass everyone so that your platform can start to deliver value to the whole business rather than the few. So that's what we're going to be discussing today. How do you build a winning data strategy that encompasses all of those challenges that you might have today with data, and ultimately provides a technical platform that the business can rely on and trust, and obviously also potentially make savings or insights that then drive extra value into the business. So an important part of what does an actual robust data strategy look like? So really there's sort of some key points that we need to focus on even before we start the journey of what technical platform should I be looking at, what data is in my organization, what challenges have I got. There's some sort of key checkpoints, and this is really where, if you were to engage with Transparency to help you shape out a data strategy, this is where we start, these sort of key checkpoints to make sure that we've got each one of them acknowledged and considered before we go into the actual sort of delivery and the discovery phase of the data strategy. And as it says there, every data strategy needs to be tailored towards an organization. So obviously we're looking at professional services that have got some common themes across them, but with every organization we talk to at a data strategy level, there's always some unique challenges or data sources that need to be considered. So I think the first one that goes without saying, and this is really to start that wider business buy-in. Too often we see sort of the data strategy being pushed by just IT and the data teams within it. It should be an all-encompassing, every facet of the business should be interested in the data strategy in order to really become a data-driven organization that is AI ready, that is leveraging their data in the best way possible. So defining those overarching goals and strategy, obviously also aligned with the business objectives as well. Is there demand for growth in the area? Are you looking at additional acquisitions? Again, data should always be considered, and that should feed into the strategy as well. And also, make sure that the stakeholders are on board as well, and they understand the importance of data and how that can achieve some of those business objectives. Again, we often see that certain functional areas within businesses are much more mature in their understanding of the importance of data. So it's about making sure that data maturity level is across the whole organization. Data governance and compliance is often one that we found is left until the end, that there's too much of a focus on that. How do we technically deliver? How do we solve some of these burning fires and data challenges today? Whilst those can be a priority to fix, governance and compliance should be throughout. It should be considered through the whole of your data strategy. And again, back to Manu's video, the tight integration of Fabric into Purview, for example, means that you've got a tool set within the Fabric platform that allows you to sort of have those tool sets in order to enforce governance and compliance. Whereas before you might have had to go into a different tool set or a different provider. It's all in one place within the Fabric platform. It's also an opportunity to sort of push with the business that, again, the responsibility of data doesn't just lie on IT and the data teams. Again, too often we see that the responsibility of sort of who owns the data and its cleanliness and its accuracy is all pushed onto that sort of technical function. Again, at the start of a data strategy, it's an opportunity to identify stakeholders that are going to take on some of that ownership for you. So rather than it all being a technical sort of focus, it can be pushed out into the business to go, right, okay, you own this data source, you're responsible for its governance and compliance, and ultimately the quality and integrity of it as well. And as James was saying at the start, obviously that stat around people not trusting their data, quality and integrity is often a big driver that we see for sort of a data strategy motion, really, that look, we don't trust our data. We've got a myriad of data sources, but we just don't trust the accuracy of it, and we're almost having to take it and supplement it with other data to make it accurate. So again, your data strategy is an opportunity to go and implement processes and a platform like Fabric that can help you start to combat some of those challenges. Architecture and infrastructure, obviously we've already spoken about how Fabric could potentially be your modern data platform that allows you to execute against a data strategy, but really it's about almost taking a step back from the technology and understanding exactly what are your data needs, what are the requirements, have you got some real-time requirements, for example, does the business need near real-time data, for example. All of those use cases can really help influence how you then start to leverage technologies like Fabric. Integration and accessibility, again, a real challenge that we see with customers is maybe they've grown through acquisitions, maybe they've not had as much input or insight into some of the line of business applications that they own and manage, and maybe actually integration and getting data out of those is difficult. But again, part of that data strategy piece and the selection of your modern data platform, something like Fabric, it's got a myriad of connectors out the box that talk to common sources, and where that's not possible, you've obviously got the more flexibility in terms of coding languages like Python, but also you can almost do away with the integration and extraction of data completely through technologies like mirroring and shortcuts within Fabric as well that can really simplify some of that data engineering activity. And then we've touched on a few times sort of becoming AI ready, that actually AI is only as good as the data that it sits on. And often we have customers that are trying to explore their AI piece without necessarily having the data platform piece in play. Again, we don't want to stifle ambition and say, look, you've got to have a full all singing, all dancing data platform that encompasses all of your data that you could ever possibly want. It's a balancing act between ensuring that the AI use cases you might be exploring are built on solid foundations of a modern data platform like Fabric. But again, we don't want to stifle ambition. We want to encourage that experimentation and the innovation through how do we use our data beyond just standard reporting? How do we use a chatbot on top of it? How do we use Copilot within Power BI, for example? And really sort of, I guess, demonstrating and drumming up some excitement within the business as well, that look, this new platform, this data strategy that we've got wrapped around it is starting to provide some really innovative insights into our data that we once previously didn't have. And then a big part of all of the steps above really start to feed into the data literacy and culture piece. Again, a bit that's often overlooked in terms of you may have functional areas that are really literate in their data and understand it inside out and understand the power of having that accurate and insightful data, but you'll also have some very immature functional areas as well, and it's important to bring them along on that journey from day zero, rather than almost focusing on the areas that are more advanced in their data literacy. Actually bring them along for the journey rather than delivering an end result for them at the end and going, right, we hope this satisfies all of your requirements, making sure that they're bought in from day one and really fostering that sort of data-driven culture. And again, we'll go into how Transparity can help with some of that through our adoption and change management functions that we've got at Transparity to really help sort of get that communication and all of the good parts that the new data platform and data strategy are going to deliver. Similar to the governance and compliance, security and risk management, again, should be there from day zero. So obviously there's been some very high profile breaches of late. So all of this hard work in terms of investment in data strategy and data platforms can quickly become undone with a breach, whether that's internally or whether that's a third party gaining access that they shouldn't have had. Obviously, it damages your reputation, but also potentially has some massive financial implications as well. So ensuring that data security is a theme across the whole strategy to, first of all, promote its importance within the business, but also to choose a platform like Fabric with its integration into Purview that is natively secure and has got those tool sets that you need to be confident that the data you're landing there is secure and you're not going to be the next sort of victim of a breach. And finally, obviously, a data strategy needs to have collaboration and communication. I think we've said a number of times throughout, getting people on board from day zero, regardless of their data maturity, their use of data within the business, getting them on board and being able to find those champions within the business is really, really important in order to make a successful and winning data strategy. So those are the common sort of robust themes that you need when you start your data strategy journey. And as we're saying, everything is tailored to an organization. One data strategy is never the same for another customer, even if you are in the same professional services industry. But there are some common themes that we do see. So really, it's that drive towards being a data-driven organization. Obviously, the importance and the value of data is much better understood in all walks of businesses today. But really, there needs to be a drive, especially from that sort of more senior leadership level, that we need to make decisions, intelligent decisions based on the data that we have. It's no longer good enough to sort of finger in the air or a gut instinct that may have worked in previous years. Obviously, we've had a number of factors on maybe your particular industry or the financial environment, where actually what's happened for the last few years, COVID, for example, threw everything out of the window in terms of how customers engage, how the sort of business that we're doing with our end users, our customers, for example. So having the data to back up those decisions and that gut feel is really important. But ultimately, it's answering questions quickly. Really, a robust data strategy and a modern data platform can really give you the edge over your competitors in the same industry. Maybe you can answer those questions quicker for your customers. Maybe you can be more accurate and consistent, or maybe you can even challenge some of the status quo that has been within your sector for a very long time. Maybe it's actually a case of, look, actually behaviors have changed and we need to react accordingly, whether that's through the offering or how we approach the service that we offer. And also, I touched on it earlier, that you're in danger of not, if you haven't got an overarching data strategy, that you're in danger of providing a really modern, powerful data platform that only serves the few rather than the many. So ensuring that actually reports, dashboards, analytics are for all persona types, not just those that are mature in their data sort of understanding and use today, but also those that aren't yet on that journey for whatever reason. And regardless of the industry, these are some of the sort of key benefits that we see, that reduced costs. So James obviously touched on the removing of manual tasks. One that we commonly see is around sort of month end, and if you've got fee earners within the business, pulling out of timesheet data or time entry data, manipulating in Excel to then work out where we are in the month, commission that might need to be paid, for example. Actually, that can all be automated and removed, and you start to put accuracy and repeatable processes around it, which again could potentially give you better customer experience as well if that data is then being presented back to either an external customer or even internal customers as well. Maybe it's finance producing numbers for the commercial team, for example, that then leads in obviously to that automation, the security, the robustness of it that we can put around, rather than it being a manual exercise that's obviously open to human error. Which then leads on to efficiencies in time management as well, removing of those automated tasks so that actually people can spend the time analyzing and looking for insights into the data, rather than the manual, menial sort of collation of data, bringing it out of systems to bring it into Excel to collate it with other data. That time is then given back to them so they can be more efficient in what their job is really about in terms of gaining insight and making business decisions off the back of it. which ultimately leads to job satisfaction. I don't think anybody is on this call that's had to do some data manipulation in tools like Excel will find it a satisfying task, having to do that repeatedly, whether it's week in, week out, or maybe it's a month-end process, whatever it might be. Obviously, that being automated, the insights being fed to you, whether it's for a dashboard or whatever it might be, obviously means you can then spend more time to actually investigate and create actions off the back of it, which hopefully leads to those increased sales, improved margin. Maybe you make efficiencies in places, maybe you identify an area or a market that you've not yet really sort of tapped into and leveraged. But ultimately, it's that reduced risk across the board. So you remove those harmful data silos that James was referring to earlier. All of your data is collated into a central modern data platform like Fabric. Once the data is all collated, you can then benefit from those automations, and it obviously removes those manual risks around what happens if that individual leaves the business, and there's a whole load of month-end process and knowledge that goes out of the door with them. So we've touched on obviously what makes a robust strategy, what are some of the benefits from it. At Transparency, when we engage with customers on helping formulate their data strategy, we use a 5 core pillar data and AI strategy. To no surprise, data is the first one. And some of you will have really good ideas of what data lives within the business today, but something we often see as a third party engaging on data and AI strategy, when we go and talk to the business in a series of workshops, we actually start to uncover some data sources that maybe the technical function, maybe IT and the data BI team, whatever it might be, didn't actually have knowledge of today. Maybe there's a really important spreadsheet sitting on somebody's machine that's really informing a lot of the decisions that area or function is making today. So even though you might think you've got a really good handle on data, I'm sure there'll be some surprises along the way. So it's important this covers all data as well, from internal source systems, but also third-party data that people might be going to and going, oh, I grab this once a month because it gives me an idea of trends in the industry, for example. Once you've covered data, there's obviously the platform discussion. What is the modern data platform that's going to be delivering all of these challenges and use cases that we identify at the sort of the discovery phase of the data and AI strategy? And again, we try not to pay too much. We try not to focus on this too much at the beginning, because you could always potentially paint yourself in a corner from a technical point of view. But given that Fabric is such an expansive platform that's always growing, again, it's potentially one where you could land your data, and you've got tools like Purview, for example. You've got to connect to libraries and functionalities that are continually growing, that sort of gives you peace of mind that it's a future platform you can land your data in that's going to grow and is also AI ready as well. And then, as I was saying at the start of the data strategy piece, identifying those key stakeholders in the business is really important, not only to help them foster and help you own the data and AI strategy, but to also influence actually where are our pain points with data today. Again, you may be aware of some real challenges within the business in terms of data, but again, it's often the more sort of data literate functions that are maybe driving some of that narrative and language. It's about going to every area of the business and getting their take on, look, what is your relationship with data today? What are the challenges that you've got? And ultimately, that then helps you identify those sort of champions that, as you start to deliver against this strategy, there'll be advocates within the business to say, look, this platform is really solving challenges for us. It's giving us new insights. It's giving us time back in our day to go and do the important things in the role, rather than the sort of menial data acquisition and manipulation tasks. So those sort of come together to form really the backbone of your sort of data strategy. And then you've got the use cases on top. Obviously, there's a fine balancing point between formulating a fully blown, all-encompassing data strategy, but then not actually delivering anything technically. Often we see them running in parallel, that you focus on the key areas to start with the strategy, start to deliver technically with a platform like Fabric, and then obviously you can start to be more expansive as time goes on. It's a fine balancing act between the business waiting too long to get a all-encompassing strategy but nothing technically, or rushing ahead technically and not really having a clear sort of strategic direction to how you're going to implement the platform. So Transparency can certainly assist with conducting those workshops amongst the user base and really picking out those use cases that, and obviously we've seen this across a number of, well, hundreds of customers in the years that we've been doing this, where common challenges and use cases will come out. But like I said, engaging with a third party can often give us a bit more of a honest view on how things are with data internally. People are often a little bit more open and candid with a third party rather than maybe the incumbent IT data team that's currently keeping the current solution up and running, as an example. And finally, we touch on AI. So is AI in its own right needs a whole sort of strategy and planning piece, but really you need to get the data piece right first before you can then start to really leverage the AI angle. So it's an opportunity, and again, Transparency can help sort of start to highlight some of those use cases that come out of that workshopping phase. So during the discovery phase, okay, tell us about some of the use cases you might have for the use of AI. And we even encounter where people are already using AI, like ChatGPT, for example, and does that even comply with some of the data governance and compliance pieces that's within the organization? So it's an opportunity to, again, see how people are leveraging data in third-party tools as well. So I just wanted to sort of drill down in a bit more detail on each one of those pillars. Like we said, data being the sort of the core starting point. So like I said, a lot of you will have a good understanding of what data is within the business today. But again, a bit like the strategy, there isn't one size fits all for addressing all of those challenges and considerations there. That how do we integrate with it? How do we ensure quality and consistent data? Can it scale? Batch versus real time, for example, where does the data come from? Who owns it? All of those are to be formulated as part of that sort of envisaging and discovery phase of the data strategy, but also it's something to consider when you're looking at a data platform like Fabric as well. Fabric has tools and functions within it that can tick the box of each of those above, and it's ensuring that your data lands in a platform that can do that as well. And really, the biggest challenge that we face when we go into the technical delivery phase of the data strategy is, can we get to the data? That's often the biggest challenge. And as I said earlier, Fabric is ever expanding in terms of its ability and ways that it can connect to various data sources. And again, really where a modern data platform starts to come into its own in terms of helping you deliver a data strategy. Previously with relational databases like SQL, for example, they were great at talking to structured data. As soon as you get into the semi-structured or the unstructured side of things, that's when they started to struggle. But platforms like Fabric, it's based on the One Lake technology, which effectively allows you to store anything. Relational database from a SQL backend that might be an application that you use, to semi-structured that might be a third-party API that you use, to unstructured. It could be IoT data, it could be multimedia data, it could be video data, it could be anything, it could be images, for example. Fabric sort of gives you the bedrock that you're comfortable that actually in the future, if we discover other use cases as part of the data strategy, it can tick all of those boxes in terms of being able to cope with structured, semi-structured, and unstructured data. As part of the data pillar as well, as I said earlier, it's really important to make sure that data security is at the forefront, and obviously the platform and the approach that you're taking is both secure from a, can the right people access the right data, but also from a governance point of view as well. Can we audit it? Can we track who's got access, as an example? And a benefit to engaging with Transparency at this level is that we've got access across the Microsoft scope in terms of, we've got a dedicated Azure practice, we've got a dedicated security practice. So even though it might sit outside of the sort of core data delivery, we've got access to experts that can go and leverage additional functionality from the Azure suite or maybe from the security suite that's there to help you sort of consider and take on the challenges that are listed there. And again, like I said, it's not all to sit on IT and data to fix. It's about educating employees that actually security and data security especially is everybody's responsibility. And just to echo that on the governance front as well, so I won't dwell on this too much, but again, making sure that the platform, the technical approach you're using can help facilitate and understand each of these areas that need to be addressed as part of that data strategy. And again, engaging with Transparency, we've got access to experts in each of those areas that can certainly help. Platform I won't touch on too much. Obviously, Manu's given us a great insight into Fabric. I'm sure some of you are already exploring it or may even be using it. But when it comes to technical implementation, we use a framework orientated approach. So it's a metadata driven approach that's been built across a number of years. So we've got existing frameworks in SQL, Python, Synapse, Databricks, and our Fabric framework builds upon that. So really it's data describing data. So how do we go and connect to the data? What are the entities we want to pull from it? And really the idea of that is so that we've got a consistent approach across all of our customers for ingesting and transforming data. So it means if you were to engage with Transparity on your Fabric implementation, you benefit from years of hard yards and lots of learning in terms of the best way to connect to Dynamics, the best way to connect to a CRM, an ERP, and a third-party API, for example. We've got a real big library now of sort of out-the-box connectors that we can go and reuse on each sort of customer deployment. And again, it lowers the barrier for entry as well. Metadata driven, so it's data going into a table describing how to get data. It's obviously very easy for technical teams that are maybe coming from a SQL background to pick up and run with. Then we get on to the final two, people and use cases, which sort of go hand in hand really. So Manu touched on some of the sort of key personas that are having challenges with data today, and these are really the key personas that we engage with when we help customers formulate their data strategy. I'm sure we've got some of those personas on the call today, but these are really the ones that you need to identify and engage at an early stage in order to build the winning data strategy that we're talking about today. And typically we see them sort of into three camps. So those stakeholders that are potentially the driver for the data strategy piece, that C-suite level that go, look, we need a data strategy in order to differentiate ourselves from our competitors, or better insights from data, for example. They're really the ones to sort of own and drive the data strategy, and obviously then the investment needed for the technical implementation downstream. And then users are really key and critical. They're going to be the lifeblood of the data strategy. They're the ones that are going to be feeding in the use cases and where the data challenges are today, and how we potentially put a technical platform in place to solve them. And then we get into the delivery team. So again, at Transparity, we've got 40 or so data engineers and consultants within the practice. We can certainly help you build out a technical platform off the back of a strategy that we've helped you devise. Or it may even be that you've got a strategy and now need help with the technical piece. We can certainly align on that front as well. Alternatively, we often engage with customers that have got technical teams internally that are just looking for a little bit of burst capacity in terms of, look, help us accelerate this adoption of Fabric, and obviously helping us deliver faster against our data strategy. So really we engage with all three across it on the data strategy side of things, and have services and areas that we can certainly help you no matter where you are on your data strategy journey. I just wanted to briefly touch on adoption and change as well. So as I've mentioned a couple of times, Transparity and that sort of expansive view that it's got across the whole Microsoft stack, but also project technical delivery, we've also got an adoption and change function as well. And we appreciate a data strategy compassed with potentially a new modern data platform is a lot of change. So again, something we can help with in terms of sort of understanding your vision and your objectives, but also how do we get training out into the wider business, and how do we really get that sort of identifying those change champions? How do we really push the data strategy from every angle, not just a pure technical IT sort of incentive? And finally, skills and training. So I appreciate some of you will be a lot further along on potentially your Fabric journey or your modern data platform journey than others on this call today. So obviously Microsoft has got a ton of resources out there to be able to get up to speed with some of the technologies that we've been talking about today. But also within Transparity, we can certainly help as well. So if you're already on that data strategy and Fabric journey, then we've got a series of in a day training programs, both Fabric and Power BI, where people can attend, and by the end of it, you've seen a end-to-end process within Fabric, and you should be able to then go and replicate that internally as well. We can also make those tailored towards a customer's data as well. So rather than it being sort of a generic data set, we can certainly tailor it to a data set within your business if you think that makes more sense, and your incumbent data team and technologists might get more out of it. Also, we're big believers in working collaboratively as well. So any technical solutions we deliver are always done collaboratively. So that semi-structured training is certainly something we can offer as well. And obviously, yeah, if there's a very bespoke area, maybe there's a specific area, fabric, real-time intelligence, for example, that you want some help exploring and some training on, we can certainly do that as well. So just before I hand over to James for sort of the closing last few slides, I think yeah, obviously if you've got any questions, then please pop them in the chat. But yeah, it'd be great for anybody that's more interested in formulating a data strategy, or maybe you're on that data strategy journey already, to reach out. We've delivered this across countless customers, so there's lots of learning there within the teams that we can lean on and hopefully help you shape a winning data strategy. Over to you, James.
Nice. Thank you very much, Luke. Yeah, really interesting session. Just to echo some of your points there as well. Often, we speak to customers who maybe don't have a data strategy in place, but others that do, and it's a really useful bit of insight to ground where you're currently up to with where you initially planned. These things are never usually straightforward. So yeah, really insightful. So yeah, as mentioned at the start of the session, we wanted to end today with just a promotional couple of offers for those that maybe haven't started their data journey. And I think Luke's going to touch on one where maybe you already are halfway through your journey, or you're already exploring data and data strategy and what that means for your business. But this one on the screen here is combining two really lucrative programs that I really recommend you at least explore further. It's combining the Microsoft Innovate program, where there's anywhere from $10,000 to $50,000 to fund your first few steps into Fabric, and that's aligned with Transparity's accelerator funding, which is $10,000, which is something is exclusive for the attendees of this event, and it does expire within 60 days. And we're offering to build eligible businesses a free of charge Fabric MVP platform with a broader data roadmap to grow that platform. And so it's not the full extent of all the lists, but hopefully those kind of applications and technologies below probably resonates with everyone. At least one of them will. But it's bringing in maybe one of those first key data sources that you have within your business to take that first step. To be totally honest and upfront as well, Transparency aren't a partner that's looking to just take some funding. We're really there to work alongside you as a strategic partnership. And so for us, this is an opportunity for us to demonstrate how brilliant the technology is, but equally gives us a chance to demonstrate ourselves too, and hopefully we could build a partnership with you. So I appreciate your time hearing me out there. I'm just going to hand it over to Luke as well, just to touch on the kind of the second promotion as well that we've been looking at. So Luke, I'll hand it over to you.
Thanks, James. So yeah, as we were saying, obviously we appreciate that some people on this call today might be a bit further along in terms of their data strategy or even the technical implementation piece of it. So we've got a promotional 3-2-1 data assessment piece that hopefully some of you guys on this call today can take advantage of. So it's 3 days at $2K, and you get a consultant off the back of that. And the idea is that we can spend some time assessing either your data strategy, the platform that you've put in place. Are you leveraging and using Fabric in the right way? Are you using your capacity to as efficiently as you can? And also, yeah, what is your next steps in terms of the strategy? Have you got a roadmap? We could help you assess and formulate one of those as well. And like I said, it's an opportunity to take advantage of that reduced cost offer. So yeah, $2K for 3 days, and that really the key output is the consultant will work with you in order to assess whatever you feel is a priority in terms of whether it's data strategy or your platform, or maybe your use of Power BI, for example. And again, a real collaborative piece where we'll then feed back to you, okay, this is what we've found, or this is what we advise, and then obviously we can work out next steps following that. But hopefully a great opportunity to intro us as a partner, and obviously demonstrate some capability to the guys on the call today.
Thanks, Luke. And so yeah, that is it for today. genuinely, thank you very much for joining us. I know finding an hour out of probably anyone's diary is tricky, so I do genuinely really appreciate your time and also your attention. Big thank you to Manu and Luke as well as our guest speakers. Look, we'd love to have follow-up conversations, get your feedback, understand where you are as a business. To be totally honest, opportunity for me to learn about your industry as well and share some use cases and resources that we have. Any questions in the chat, we'll be following up shortly as well. And again, just thank you very much for your time and have a great day.